So, if I were to set up and manufacture an e-bike, what would it look like? You might be surprised. Stick around and we'll get into it. Well, hello again, Internet. Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, like I said, what if I were to set up to manufacture e-bikes? What would they look like? Well, I think the first thing I would want to do is I would want to figure out what my market was going to be. You know, there's several different categories of e-bikes around, and I would want to decide which one I wanted to be in, and I would think it would be the one along the lines of the Rads and the Hemiways and that type of thing. Not so much the Specialized or the KTM or Husqvarnas, you know, the real hardcore e-mountain bikes. So that's the first thing I would take a look at. And now then I would want to take a look at what I am taking a look at here, where all we're going. The next thing I would want to take a look at is who is my market going to be, if that's what I'm going to do. Putting up another subdivision. And I got trees pulled out there, but boy, there's some scrubby looking trees over there that they've got them so fenced off. They want to protect them so much. Might be possibly cemetery or something behind there. That seems strange to protect off them scrubby little things. But anyway, who would my market be? And that's going to be you and I. You know, primarily older folks that maybe rode some off-road motorcycles, dirt bikes is what we all called them when we were kids. And that brings back their youth. People that have gotten out of cycling for one reason or another, and they discovered it back and they're going back into it at an older age. That's what I'd be wanting to market. So how would I build these bikes? Well, I would want to see if I could make them modular, that I could use, you know, the same basis for a lot of different models. And so I think I would make two frames. One would be a step through, one would be a step over. I think that step over frame, I would try to cut it down, the step over bar, almost like a BMX type bike. And let's see, I think we'll head down this way here. Almost like a BMX type bike is what I would want to do with it. And that way I could get the seat height down lower, because I believe a lot of people, one of the biggest complaints I hear about e-bikes is, man, that thing is big and heavy. It's big and heavy. Well, yeah, the 26-inch fat tire bike, I'm riding a 29er right now, but a 26-inch fat tire bike is about the same size as this 29er. And that's too big for quite a lot of people. But what if you took that frame for the 26-inch fat tire, you had it to where you could have that seat down a hair lower just by positioning the bar a little bit differently, kind of like a 26 BMX type position. And what if you put regular sized tires on that, like 2.5s or 2.25s? Now all of a sudden you've lowered that down another 4, maybe even more inches right there, just because of the size of the tires. Now, I do think the fat tires have a cool look about them, and so, you know, that's a big selling point. But at the same token, being too big is not a big selling point, and that reputation gets around pretty quick. So I think it would get around that, hey, these bikes are not too big for you to ride. You know, you can get this one and your wife can get this one right here, and you guys have very similar bikes, just about matching, except for yours has the fat tires on it. So I think that could be a pretty good selling point right there. Yeah, there's another new house going up. Going up all over the place out here. What else would we do with them? We would try and make them to where you don't suck in a bug when you're going down the street on them. Now, I'm not sure how I would do that, but I would buy one of them right now after what just happened. Okay. Well, a little extra protein for the day. Next up, I think what a lot of manufacturers are doing is they are adding more power. They're getting these things more and more powerful and more range. And I have to agree with that. I think it sells, plain and simple. You know, there used to be an old television show on years ago. I can't remember what it was called, but yes, I do remember what it was called. It was called Home Improvement. And there was a guy on there, and he was always talking about more power, more power, more power. And I think they're, I think they made that show based on truth, based on the truth of a lot of things. So that would certainly be something that I would agree with. Now, I think another thing that, and you're starting to see some of this as well, a lot of these bikes are coming with hydraulic brakes. They're upping their game and their braking power. And I'm going to say I would have to agree with that. They need to go ahead and bump up their game in that area. What else would we have on there? There are several things that are coming out. You know, there's a bike that has just come out with turn signals. That kind of thing is starting to become more and more popular. Of course, the integrated lights, that's been popular for a while. But I'm seeing several of these bikes now being built with a torque sensor. Now, I got to tell you, I love a torque sensor, but I believe the manufacturers have missed the mark on this. Would I enjoy one of them? Yes, but from a manufacturing standpoint, I think, and I'm not sure exactly how they work, but I have an understanding of how machinery works and how electronics work, and I believe it would be a pretty simple matter to put the sensors in for both a torque and a cadence sensor and have basically a map switch. It could be through your display, or it could just be on a handlebar. You know, most motorcycles nowadays have a map switch for the power delivery. That's kind of what this would be. I mean, theirs works through the fuel and the air combination, but this would work through some relays of what sensors you're picking up. I think that right there would be a huge selling point for them, and I don't think you would add much cost for the amount of price that you would be able to place on there for that. Just think, if you could come out there because you wanted some exercise one day and you throw that thing onto a torque sensor and it only goes the way that you want it, and then the next day you want to have a much easier ride, and so you place it on the cadence sensor and you have a much easier ride that next day. Just think of the convenience of that right there. You might find out going around making these small turns when your cadence sensor takes off and throws you into the weeds that the torque sensor doesn't do that, even if you're in a upper level passenger assist. I think we're going to come down this way today, go straight on by the home road and keep rolling for a little bit. We're going to keep them wheels rolling. We're going to stay safe, and I know that God has blessed me, and I'm just going to keep the wheels rolling on this one. So how about that? But I think that could be a huge selling point right there that I don't see anybody basically tapping into that. Amenities that's coming with it, you know, the back rack, fenders. I think these are all pretty much mandatory. Pretty much would be mandatory as far as I'm concerned, that they come on the bike, that they can be removed, but they come on the bike when you get it. Integrated lights, of course, would be the same thing with a plug that you could unplug them easily. And this way, if you wanted to get off the road and take it strictly off road, you could. but it's set up to be on the road. What else would we have here? You know, the look, I would want to keep it looking like basically a dual sport motorcycle. And I think there's a lot of people that would be attracted to that. As I've said before, I think a lot of people in my age, you know, rode dirt bikes when they were young. And this brings back that youth quite a little. What kind of dual sport? You know, if you know anything about motorcycles, I'm not talking about building a KTM 250 EXC. You know, I'm talking about building the Honda CRF-L 250, because I think that's what this particular market is looking for, is something that's capable of going off the road, but it's not really capable of going into a competition or anything like that. And so that would be kind of what I'm looking at. If you don't know, well, the Wan is a much more well, it's about half the cost, and it just doesn't have the type of components that the other one has. And I don't think a lot of people that are getting these type of e-bikes are necessarily looking for top of the line components. And so that would be, you know, kind of where I would go. But the components that are on these bikes right now, they're basically entry level. This bike that I'm riding is an entry level bike in the mountain biking. It's a Marlin 7, and it's, like I said, it's an entry level mountain bike. And these e-bikes are typically, the type of components are for entry level. They're going to be similar to what I've got right here. And that's adequate for anything that I'm doing with it. What else do we got? Full suspension. I think it would need to be full suspension, just because I think that's what the market's looking for. I think the market is wanting them to be full suspension, and so, you know, that's what basically they're demanding right now. And so I would go with that if that's what they want. Do I think personally we need them? No, not really. But as a manufacturer, I want to make what sells, not what I think. So what else would we have? I think I would have about 4 different colors to market them, or to dip them, and just dip the frames in about 4 different colors. Now we're getting ourselves set up. So what does that leave us? It leaves us with a fat tire bike or a regular tired bike with the same frame. I believe adapters could be put into the back end, you know, because you've got a wider chainstay and the wider forks and everything. But I don't think that could not be done. I think we would have a step over or a step through bike with the lowest seat height that I could get on them, and that does include on the step over bike as low of a seat height as I can put on it as well. I would have it able to have a basically a map switch of where the sensor is coming from. Is it a cadence sensor or is it a torque sensor? And that would be available at any time to you. So it wouldn't be a difficult thing to change out. You could just do it on either your display or a handlebar switch. Would be very easy. I think it would have built-in lights, racks, fenders, all that stuff would be in. I would make it very easy to take it off, on and off, because I think some people are going to want to just take it strictly off the road. And what I would not want to do is set up to where people could order a bike with, you know, and basically the base order comes with nothing on it, and then you add according to what the customer wants. And now you're talking, number one, you got a chance of a mistake anytime you start doing something like that. And you've also got time. It is a very time-consuming thing to go through and look at work orders versus just pop them together the same. So, you know, you can cut quite a bit of cost right there on something like that. Probably sell them at the same price as you could the baseline model, just about, because you're going to have losses of time. And in manufacturing, time is your biggest cost. So, what else would we have? It would be available in 4 colors, have full suspension, entry-level components, which does not make it bad. It just keeps the cost down. I can't think of anything else, so I'm going to rely on you guys to toss out a few ideas of what you think could be in there too. And yeah, I look forward to seeing your comments on it. And so we're going to go ahead and shut this off here. I'm going to get headed back into the shop. I want to go ahead and cut in just as I'm getting home. There was one point I forgot to mention on here, but when we were talking about complaints that you get with the bikes. Well, one of the other ones is, yeah, you hit that throttle and it takes off. Well, I think if I were to manufacture, when I turned on the bike, it would be a pedal assist 0. And I believe, again, it would be, you would have to switch it to where the throttle is not connected to, in other words, the throttle worked on pedal assist 0. You know, it would be connected. So you basically, you know, you don't jump into your car and it's in drive as soon as you start it. I would do the same thing with this. So I wanted to toss that in there. And that will wrap it up for this time, Internet. So hey, till next time, it's Southern E-Biking telling you, stay safe, God bless, and keep the wheels rolling. Once again, we're out.